just give the average Joe an insight of what's it like playing at this level.
Friday night's always been a personal favourite of mine. You've got the long weekend. Everyone's just wanting that release, that stimulation, just to watch a macabre sport of gladiatorial confrontation. And you feed off that as athletes. Like, you love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
G'day, good evening, good morning. It is dropped kickoff time once again. I'm Nick Wasiliev. I'm here with Nathan Williamson. It's just the two of us because Mr. Nick Hartman's gone on holidays. He's buggered off to Vietnam, not Hawaii. He's buggered off to some part of Southeast Asia to get on the sauce. It's just the two of us. We were supposed to have a certain Finn Morton joining us once again, the increasingly occasional guest Finn Morton, but unfortunately he's already in Christchurch because this is the week of Super Round, and we've got plenty to catch up on. And before we dive into Super Round, I'll of course start off with my colleague here. Nathan, you're getting ready to go over to Ch. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I say fly over on Thursday. Shout out Super Rugby for paying me away. Cheeky plug. Cheeky brag, no big deal. But no, look, in all seriousness, like, I've been to ones in Melbourne, and like the concept was there, but it never really had the support. This is going to be, I've got no doubt this is going to be a success. No doubt whatsoever.
Have they sold it out? Is it officially sold out? Like, any note from the Satyrs, like, on if it's sold out?
Oh, first day's been sold out for like a month. Second day I think is close. Third day, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool one to chat about, particularly with the whole brand new spanky stadium that they've got to unveil there, One New Zealand Stadium in Christchurch. But let's start with a different sort of money spinner situation, and that is that for the first time in a very, very long time, Australian rugby has made money. Like, we're in the black. It's like officially been announced as of like a few hours ago, as of us talking right now. We've officially, how much money is Rugby Australia? It's the biggest profit ever made by the code. Is that correct, Nathan?
Basically, yeah. Like 2003 probably is our only other comparable mark. Yeah, no, this is a bit like profit-wise, this is way bigger than the past. Like, it's like the surplus in 2003 was 32.9. This doubles it. And like, yeah, a lot of that is paying back the loan, but there's still like $30 million or $35 million of just revenue like outside of that can be used for the future. It's great.
It's obscene how much, like, if there's any, I just want to say this to any people who, like, the amount of chat we got last year about that, will the Lions ever come back to Australia? I believe, according to the Fin Review, that the piece that's been published in the Fin Review, that this is by far one of the most profitable Lions tours. I think the quote was by a considerable margin. So if it puts any, I think that would fairly put, that idea that the Lions won't come back to Australia firmly to bed for the foreseeable future. Not because, it was such a, while it ended up being a very, very competitive 3-test series between the Wallabies and the Lions, the fact that it made a shit ton of money will definitely put that all to bed, which is exciting. It's weird to see us have so much money. I don't know what to do with it. What are we going to do? Spend it on rugby league players? Like, I don't know.
Maybe. Hopefully not. No, like, in all seriousness, like this, don't expect this money to be spent very quickly. Like, this is I'll give you an insight in the mantra from in. It is basically somebody hitting someone with a stick, being like, "Don't be 2003 all over again. Don't be 2003 all over again. Don't be 2003 all over again." Like, it is such a concerted effort to be like, all right, this is such a golden position, and let's face it, as a code, we fucked it up last time. We're not doing it again. So that's what I want to be clear. Like you might see this and go, "Oh, how good we go! This is a war chest. We can go get Nathan Cleary. We can go get Payne Haas. We can get anyone we want." No, this won't be spent on that sort of stuff.
No, the correct answer of what it will be spent on, I think, would be investments in pathways, in smart investment in the future of the game to make sure that it's set up in perpetuity. Let's just not, just whatever we do not make the mistakes of 2003 again, I guess is the message. But speaking of financial situations, I mean, we were away for all of last week, so we missed the call, this huge, massive piece of news. I mean, we did talk about it, you and I did at least on our respective social channels, and that is that Moana Pacifica is officially set to cease operations at the end of 2026, with the key citing being around financial reasons. I mean, it's been fair to say that there's been so many questions around the future of Moana Pacifica for the last couple of months, like actually more than like last 12 to 18 months at least. I mean, they were guaranteed to play in this season, but I mean, for me, the finances, it was very, very clear that there was something not adding up somewhere with the long-term security of the club. The fact that they couldn't afford $600,000 to go and play in Tonga or Samoa. So, Nathan, what I know there's been a few updates in this particular story since then. So, what is that?
Well, I mean, I'll start with my opinion. I think it's a damn shame that this has come to this, but I do want to kind of make the point that a lot of this is just very. This is actually going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care. A lot of the same kind of points can be made about what happened with the Rebels as well. Is a lot of people have come out and been, "Oh, it's so sad. How could they let them go?" Blah blah blah. When the reality is, they weren't supported by a fan base consistently. They weren't. And that partly could have been because, as you said, they couldn't get that consistent base up with Tonga and Samoa. But even when they were in Auckland and New Zealand,
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts. I've seen the figures myself. I know they're not good in terms of crowd attendance. So a lot of people grandstand when it comes to this. And the reality is they didn't get the support when they needed it. Now, will they get it in time? That's the question we ask, because there's talks of consortiums being out there and putting money into it, but it would take a significant amount of money, and you'd have to be comfortable not making a profit for a couple of years. Because the reality is, most teams don't make profits. Like the Queensland Reds are one of the few that makes profit, and that's basically because they got Ballymore gifted to them. That's the reality. I mean, if you go into the sports team business, particularly in Australia, you don't make profit unless you have a significant what's the word I'm going to use? I'm just going to use the word
Capital.
flat out.
Yeah, you need significant capital to
No, you need
to
pokies.
be prepared to spend some money.
If you don't have pokies, you don't make money. That in the NRL
That's true.
is the exact same. How many of those clubs that would be running at a loss if it wasn't for A, pokies, and B, a massive broadcast deal? They're the two big ones. Broadcast deal right now isn't that big for Super Rugby, and none of them have pokies. That's why they don't make money. Outside of that, it's so rare to see actual clubs, even though worldwide, make profit. So with the debt they have, you would need somebody that is willing to put in basically, I don't know, 30 to 40 million over 3 to 4 years just to kind of get it to pay all the costs and kind of get them back up and running. So I love the thought. I want them to stay. I think it's such a cool thing for Super Rugby to have that Pacifica link, and it's a real feather in our cap. But yeah, you're gonna need significant money.
I completely agree. I mean, the only other point I have to make on this, I mean, first of all, I completely agree with you. It's such a shame. The concept is really cool, and it's the idea of actually having a team that represents the islands and being a side that really champions the development of the national sides in Tonga and Samoa. You need a team like that. You desperately need a team like that, and you can't call it. Can you call a competition Super Rugby Pacific if it doesn't have one of its most important teams in the Pacific in Moana Pacifica? But you're absolutely right. Whatever they did with the concept of trying to base the team out in Auckland, it just never worked. The reality is that it can't. A team like that cannot work unless you actually go out there and build the infrastructure on the islands from the ground up. That's the reality of it. I think it's still worth persisting. And the big news was that came out in the Saturday Telegraph was that, I mean, there's been talk about this idea that Australian rugby is going to, or not Australian rugby, that there's $150 million on the table from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to get a Tongan, Samoan, and Fijian team into Super Rugby Oz. For me, I actually think that's the way to go. Like similar to the Drua actually having a couple of years in the NRC, trying to build up that comp, build up that ability to manage and run a professional team and a professional outfit and understand the intricacies of it. Uh, maybe they need maybe the Moana needs a few years in the wilderness with a Tongan team and a Samoan team actually playing in a regular competition. Even if it's only a 2 month competition, it gives you something that they can aim for and work on. And then when the time comes, and they've got the infrastructure in place, maybe then you bring back a Moana Pacifica side. I hope that one gets off the ground, and I hope that we do see those teams. So fingers crossed. But I think that's the only way forward that we'll see this year. But it's a real shame to see Moana Pacifica end. It's a shame.
I think partly as well, like it just sort of became a point where I don't think they really had a sort of a fair fight to begin with. You look at the talent that's left there, and Tavatava Nawai, Kyron Tamo Flow, I think is a great example. Him in particular, because like he was somebody that was absolutely blitzing it, then suddenly gets a bigger offer to leave and go to the Chiefs, and is basically their third choice winger. He had to wait for Nana Sator and Amone Nawa to start, to get injured, and now he's finally been able to get back in. Ironically, against Moana Pacifica. So
Oh, so frustrating.
it's frustrating because if it was a level playing field, they could have just. It's not like the Fiji and Drua. The Fiji and Drua lose players all the time, but they're going to the top 14. They're not making other teams stronger. That thus makes them weaker. Like and the Fiji and Drua have been quite good at actually getting a lot of talent back from overseas as well. Vakatawa, great example in the centers there. But yeah, it just kind of always felt like a case of looking at the other the Blues worked against them trying to get a base in Auckland when Tonga and Samoa didn't work. The other clubs were more than happy to rip their best talent. It kind of felt like the New Zealand rugby sides were very much like, well, all right, we don't want you here. So and we don't mind taking you out so we can go back to our group of five. But that's a very very ignorant view looking from afar. I might be wrong. I probably am, but that's kind of been the perception.
Yeah, it does. I must admit, I did have moments where I felt like that, seeing the amount of talent suddenly turning up in Highlanders shirts or Chiefs shirts, and just going to myself, is this team trying to actually build the Tongan and Samoan national sides, or are you just trying to funnel more players into the New Zealand system? Who knows? Look, either way, whatever this concept, it just unfortunately the reality is that after 5 years it didn't work, but we really hope that it comes back, and I really hope that at the very least, if they can get off the ground with a Super Rugby Oz style concept and build it from there, I reckon there's fantastic long term prospect. For me, Fiji's the blueprint. Like what they did, what happened with Fiji and the islands. Of course, there was, it's easily said than done, and there's a lot more complications with those other nations, and Fiji had a better starting point, but it took them a couple of years to build that team up and achieve success. But there's good players there. There's good people. It's a passionate sport on the islands. It's got a good representation. So it wouldn't take long for them, at least on the field, to get up to a level where they were competitive. But let's dive over to Super Rugby results because we have some results to talk about, and I feel like the best place to start. Should we start with the Tars or should we start with the Brumbies? Come on, give me some pain. I think we need to talk. If we're talking about Pacifica teams, we should probably talk about the Drua win, shouldn't we?
Let's rip the band-aid off for you. lay in. Let your thoughts run wild. Because again, we were texting during this game, and I know how you're feeling. So
you got the evening off. You got to cover the force a little bit later. But yeah, look, first ever win in Canberra for the Drua, second win on the road in 34 matches for them in Super Rugby Pacific. I ain't mad. Like, I'm pissed off that the Brumbies lost, but they weren't as good. The reality is, it's very cut and dry for me as a very frustrated fan because they weren't the better side. The Drua managed the game better. I think the Brumbies' first half was absolutely appalling. I think it was just no direction. Either they thought that there was kind of a headspace. I think it was a point that you raised while we were chatting, which was that it felt like they were preempting, oh, we're going to be able to go forward here. and we'll be able to do this pass here, and we'll be like they were thinking and about the play and the success of the play even before the play had happened. And it was just like, well, no, that's not how rugby works. You got to deal with what's in front of you. So there were just so many mistakes. And then when it was the 10th handling error at the 35th minute, I just went, come on, guys, this is sloppy. This is sloppy as hell. And contrasting that, the Drua played really well. They were really smart. They attacked the ruck really well. First of all, to put pressure on the Brumbies, they then squeezed them and took points. The Drua taking points at every opportunity, and then the pressure went up, and then that put more pressure on the Brumbies, and then that just allowed the Drua to play their natural game even more. It was just basically a three-pronged bang, bang, bang approach of attack in that first half, and luckily they were able to hold on and get that win. I thought, deserved winners. There's not really much else to say.
Reality is that's been a part of the sort of taking of threes. There's been a big part of the game ever since they've had Armstrong Ravula as that consistent 10. Like, he's such a good young talent and one that you can kind of build. They can build this Drua team around for the future if he stays. But let's not. The Brumbies had a chance to win that game at the end. There, they did. With 10 minutes to go, there was what. You were within a converted try, and there was several opportunities that just went begging. They just couldn't execute at the right time. I copped a lot of stick from Fijians because I said this was the Brumbies' worst performance, but it was their worst performance of the year. It was terrible. I thought the Fijians were better in their first win in Bar than they were in this game, but they were good. They were clinical. They forced it into mistakes. They kind of made the Brumbies look very un-Brumby. So you got to give them credit. Like, so often we've talked about their inability not to win it away from home. Well, they've just knocked off one of the form sides in the competition. So you got to tip your hat and kind of accept it. Like, for the Brumbies, every single year it feels like they lose a game which you look back on come June and go, that was a difference from them not having a home semi-final. This is going to be the game.
Yeah, I think it is. And do you know what the funny part is? I hope, my hopes are that they learn from this and they really fire some rockets up themselves this week because they've got the bloody Hurricanes playing this weekend in Super Round, and Hurricanes look phenomenal even though they went down on the weekend. Like, they're a top 2 side at the moment and they're looking great. I hope the Drua use this as a moment, as like a blueprint for how to win on the road, because it feels like that they've just tried to get past. It's been a monkey on their back, just this mental block of, you can see the try, you can see 2 tries, and then you're like, shit, we're losing again away from home, and then it just compounds from there. I just find it so ironic that they finally snapped this losing streak the week that Glenn Jackson announces he's departing the side. So I'm just like, oh God, it's like they couldn't have timed it any more differently. It does beg the question, who's going to follow in his footsteps? Who would be a good option there? Because I know they've had a couple of changes as well at the national level with Mick Burns stepping away. So plenty of change there. But look, it's come. The win's come at a good time for the Drua, and I hope the Brumbies turn it around, because it's a very tight. That middle of the ladder now is very, very tight. Should we talk Tars Moana?
Yeah, the perfect game for Dan McKellar. You get full 5 points and you get to absolutely spray a team afterwards.
It was a weird game. It was a weird game, wasn't it?
They were terrible. They were terrible, the Waratahs, for the first 50, 60 minutes. Like, they just kind of... Like, they've always been very good at just playing down opposition. Moana went into this game with a 3-game winning streak against them. Like, this has happened so often before, but I think this is something. I don't think no matter what happens this year, you can look at this Waratah side and say it's grown. I think this game's a great example of that, because past Waratah sides would have just fallen away and just kind of wilted under pressure, wilted when the pressure came on after that lightning delay. But instead, they kind of just they got addicted to the grind. They kind of just went back to those dark places, went back to what worked, and suddenly went from a 9-point lead that was in serious danger of being a 1-score game to getting a bonus point and having firmly in contention for finals. Like, Again, far from pretty, but effective. You need to sort of bank games like this, and hey, job done.
Yeah, I'm in such a weird headspace about the Tars. Like, it's good that they got the win. It is, but I'm kind of waiting for that. I'm waiting for that performance where they really back themselves a bit more. Like, and I'm talking like, you know, I'm trying to think of a great example where they just put on a really clinical, brilliant display. Because they are building something there, and logic tells the law of averages, when the more you play together, the better you're supposed to get. I'm waiting for that really great breakout performance that kind of signals their arrival. Maybe I'm being a bit too presumptuous, and maybe that comes next year in McKellar's third year in charge. But yeah, at the moment, I'm like, yes, they're getting some wins, but the inconsistency is still killing them right now. It really is. They've got the makings of a good side, but it was just such a strange game. I mean, like, you were there, and it was like the rain was weird. How many bloody rain delays have we had in the last 12 months? It feels like it's like it's
I think the count is six in 9 months.
it's been insane. Like we had we had two Wallaroos ones, we had the Lions one, we've had like so
We had
many.
Canberra,
So
the
strange.
Canberra Reds game in Canberra, and then we also had the Wallaroos Wales game in Brizzy before the second Lions test in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's been such a strange time for rain delays and weather delays in general. But yeah. Look, it's. I mean, they got the win. We should be happy with that. I expect them to be competitive this weekend in Super Round, but like you're playing the Crusaders at home, like in first night, biggest in front of a brand new stadium. Like, I don't envy their position, to be honest. Like, I expect them to be competitive.
In the same, so for context, like, we're recording this on Tuesday nights. We don't know what each team looks like. I looked at the Crusaders side last week was nothing special.
No,
Like,
no, it wasn't.
Like the Waratahs, if it's the same side that goes up against the Waratahs, it won't be, because you'll have like Hotham starting and probably David Harvili back. But if it's a similar squad and there's no Will Jordan, there's no Cody Taylor, it's winnable. Like, again, it's this sort of pressure goes two ways. It galvanizes the side or it suffocates them. Which way does it go for the Crusaders? That's going to be the question. And
Historically, I mean, I'm going based on historical things here, and historically they've been very, very good under pressure. But
like, hey, let me one more point to make about the Crusaders is I've did a TikTok on that as well. Cheeky plug. The last four. Do you know their finish to the season? It is cooked.
Dog shit. Yeah, it's dog shit. I've heard.
Try 2 games against the Hurricanes, just 2 games against the competition favourites, no big deal, and the other 2 games against the Blues and the Chiefs, the other 2 teams in the top 3.
Disgusting.
They could not. They might not win another game after this week. So
doesn't that make you think that they'll target this game though, as a result?
Partly, again, but that does, again, it goes back to my point. Does the pressure galvanise them, and do they rise, or do they all of a sudden start feeling the fact of, or start looking over their shoulder, being like, all right, we have to win, so we get desperate, and then therefore go away from the game plan? Because the reality is as well, the Waratahs and Crusaders, it's actually been a really good matchup for the Waratahs. They've got 3 of the last 5 wins against them. So
that's true,
even the game last year was somewhat close. Yeah, look, a lot of those wins have been in Sydney, but again, that's when you have a lot of people who've got success against the Crusaders. There's probably not that same level of intimidation because they know what it takes to beat them. They obviously have a game plan that works because they keep finding success. Don't know, man. Crazier things have happened, and that's included 3 Waratahs wins over them in 5 games. Just mental.
It's been a very, very good run. And speaking of Crusaders, let's talk about a side that I did not expect. If talking about them 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was just in such a pissed off headspace about the Western Force. I was in such a frustrated headspace because I thought that they'd probably butchered their season with a start to the season that bad. and they were going into a period where they were going to head to Fiji, head to Brisbane, play the Chiefs, and play the Crusaders. For me, this was the hardest 4 weeks of their season, and I was thinking they'll be lucky to get, if they get one win, I'll be happy. Now, at the end of that period, they've got the bye. They do not go to Super Rounds. They're the only team that misses out, but they will finish with a win over the Reds, a win over the Crusaders, a bonus point loss to Fiji in a game they could have won. The only really disappointing performance was that game against the Chiefs. Yes, they're still sitting in 10th, but they're right back in this season because they have a brilliant dream run home. And even more impressive, they came back from 19-0 down to win this game, which was really impressive.
They've got a good side. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that this run of form has coincided with the return of Dylan Peach. He's unreal. He's someone that everyone just forgets is just one of the best wingers going around right now. Like, my thoughts on Dylan Peach is if he was French or Irish, we'd be calling him top 5, top 10 in the world. Probably in the top 5. But because he's not, we kind of just say him as just like, oh yeah, like he will find a spot. But when Markey comes, like Markey starts and so does Max, and Dylan, he will just miss out. He's too good to be missing out. He's an unreal talent, and his combination with Zach Lomax was special on the weekend. And like they're a team which, again, as I said, given the Crusaders' schedule home, they might only have to win 2 or 3 games to make finals. And as you said, considering their run, I'm not going to bet against them. They could get it done, absolutely.
Well, look, I think they've still got it's still a back to the wall situation. They're 3-6 for the season so far, still, and they're sitting in second last. But they do have an insane run. Let's do our regular scheduled Lomax watch while we're here because, God, he had a really, really good game. He did have a couple of moments where he tried to. I did love the post-match presser where Cronny said, "Yeah, I had to remind him that you don't offload in if you sometimes you have to take a hit. You don't just try and offload like you do in league. Sometimes it's okay to just take the hit." And he was like, "Yeah, got it. Still, old habits die hard when it comes to league." But brilliant try. I thought the lead up that try, which Henry Robertson inevitably scored. I think it was Peach around the back to Lomax to Greeley to Robertson will go down as one of the best tries of the season. Just so slick. It was phenomenal. And I just thought to myself, as when he scored that winning try, is Zach enjoying himself here? I think he's really enjoying himself here because it looks like he really got it. He seems to have really. We did kind of make a joke that the forces seem to have improved a lot the moment he arrived, and we did like a Simpsons reference with Leonard Nimoy saying, "Look, my work is here," and Barney comes up and goes, "But you haven't done anything, haven't I?" Maybe that sort of quality athlete has made the rest of the side raise their intensity a little bit. I don't know. Tell me about Lomax Watch. What's the impact he's having on this team? Or do you reckon it's all overblown and he's still finding his feet?
Well, I reckon it's one of those ones where it gives the team a clear identity in how they want to play. I think he's come into a perfect situation that you have a really good kicking 10, Ben Donaldson, a very underrated kicking 10. I think in the sense of everyone knows he's good, but he might be top 3 in the comp in terms of his ability to manipulate space and just kind of put in those attacking kicks. You then have a winger who is, I don't think it's a overreaction to say he could be the best aerial winger in Super Rugby right now. Like, given his pedigree in league, like he was known as one of the best there. We've seen how it translates. Like, it became such a clear strategy that they had no way to stop at the Crusaders. There was one point at half time with they didn't have advantage, but Ben Donaldson just put a crossfield kick and there was just 4 Crusaders around Zach Lomax. He caught it. It's insane.
Yes, he did actually. Yeah, he did.
I think from a Wallabies perspective, I think it's really encouraging in the sense of we now have you could almost go horses for courses type wingers, depending on what you foresee the other team's strategy to be. I think it becomes very hard to now predict, to now kind of form a strategy against the Wallabies until very late in the picture because you'd have your speedster wingers like your Jorgos, Corey Tools. You have your absolute workmen like almost kind of hybrid flanker type wingers in Peach and Dunguna who are excellent defenders, excellent over the ball, but also can create something out of nothing. But now you've got Zach Lomax, who is not only good defensively, but an absolute like aerial threat that you could partner with Suoliti, and all of a sudden you can't bomb the Wallabies, and that's where teams, which is what teams did last year. They found a strategy that worked of just put the high ball up and see what happens. You can't do that if Lomax is on one wing and you then drop Suoliti back to the other wing defensively if you're still keeping him as that sort of 12-13 with Ikitau. So I think it's encouraging from a Force perspective, but I can't help but just keep looking at it from a Wallabies lens and going, there's something special there. There's just something different we can now do. It's again to go back to sort of Simpsons references. It's like the episode where they go to Robot Wars and like Homer's the robot and they go up against like Franks, and instead of Bart's done all this time, he's like, right, I know where their weakness is, and as soon as they get to the thing, the weakness is just being like reinforced and like now the weakness is their strongest point. That's what it is. Our weakness could be our strongest point, where we are all of a sudden just throwing out bombardments at teams, letting Suoliti and Lomax go wild.
Yeah, and then you add in the equation of Crichton coming in later in the year, and then that adds even more questions and makes the centre pairings potentially look even more dangerous when you've got Ikitau in the mix there, and Paisami and Dalgunu can play in that position as well. I mean, backlines, things are looking pretty solid at the moment, particularly with Tom Wright coming back. I forgot to mention he came back in that Brumbies game, and even considering it was his first game in 9 months, he actually looked, I thought, pretty good. 2 try assists in that game. He wasn't at his best, but even then he was still adding a significant amount more bite into that Brumbies attack. So I'm excited to see how he goes this weekend. But, good to see him back on the field and get through a game, and get some time back in the legs. Yeah, but, I mean, you're absolutely right about the Wallaby situation. And, I mean, yes, the Force can still potentially make finals here, but I mean, I still think they're up against it. That start to the season, I think, has really hampered them. I think you've got their last 3 games are at home, all very, very winnable games. But they've also got, I think they've got to travel to Canberra and they've got to travel to Sydney. They have to win one of those away games on the road. If there's 4 wins there, then we're having a different conversation in terms of the mix for finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of why I've got that confidence that they can actually make a final push. Is there is several games that work in their favour that will essentially be mini finals, that they can kind of control their own destiny rather than needing a massive upset to get there, like potentially other teams.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So before we talk Super Round, there's actually been a hell of a lot of other rugby that's happened, and the first is over in Kansas City, where once again the Wallaroos had to navigate shitty weather conditions, tornado warnings. If you haven't gone and seen some of the stuff they had to deal with in the lead up to their game against the USA in terms of actual warnings and whole situations around it, I strongly recommend you do, because it was strange to watch and see them, the situations they worked with. But inevitably, despite a couple of weather, delayed starting times and all of that, they did play. And it's fair to say that it was a bit of a disappointment result in the end. 33-12 loss to the USA, a very big, loss compared to, this time last year where they managed a win and a draw. This weekend they're in the Sunshine Coast, hopefully more predictable weather. I need to look at the bomb and see if the forecast. At this point I'm convinced that they've pissed off some sort of weather god, the Wallaroos, for some reason. God knows what, because they've had just such a unlucky run with weather. Nath, talk to me about this game, because the first half they looked all right, and then it was just disappointing in the end.
It's frustrating. It really is. The reality is they got out-muscled 1-15. America went out there and just bullied them. It's really annoying because the delays suck, and obviously it would have affected prep and morale, the whole tornado stuff and the back-to-back delays. But America were there too. They didn't play the game at 8 p.m. They played the game starting at 10:30 their time as well and into midnight. The tornado warning sucked for the Aussies, but New Zealand were in the same hotel. They dealt with the tornado warnings and defeated Canada. There's I don't know, it's going to sound pretty mean coming from me, I think, but there's only so many times you can kind of keep looking at excuses and going, oh, well, it's okay, well, they're not a professional program, they're not this, not that. At some point, you kind of do have to be like, this isn't good enough, we have to treat results as they are. And when you go out there and, yes, an American side that's a bit more battle-hardened, but welcome to the global calendar. This is what happens. You've got to use. I think we've got to be comfortable enough to say that result wasn't good enough, and how do we get better? Like, because again, the Canada one where they went down 24-0 was a much better showing from them than this game, even though they didn't score. It was a much better showing. They took a step back against the USA, which hopefully fires them up for New Zealand. New Zealand coming in red hot form, but look, I kind of. It's that the USA game hopefully is a line in the sand to be like, all right, we don't want that to happen again. We need to aim up, really try and take it to New Zealand. Don't take a step back and just win that physicality battle, please.
Yeah, it was so frustrating. I just thought to myself, like, come on, guys, that physical battle. We know you've got the physical guts there. You literally showed it last week against Canada. Nearly made 200 plus tackles in torrential conditions. Like, Mins played out of his skin. Chancellor played out of his skin, like 17, 18 tackles. That is a huge amount of work to do. So it's clear that the level of intensity in that side is clearly developing and improving. And it's against a Canadian side who I'll also point out isn't full-time either. They've got such a great batch of players, the Canadians do, who made a final, and they were in that game even though they didn't score points. Like, they were really asking a lot of questions of Canada's attack. So yeah, I consider this match against the USA a real disappointment. It was a big step back. So fingers crossed they get up for it. This game against New Zealand, like, it would be frustrating, and I would be so disappointed if it was the result of a Ballymore, a few years ago when they lost by 60 something. Like, they made some real strides forward against the Black Ferns last year. Like, scored more tries, conceded less points. Yes, they lost those games, but it was clear that the gap was between the two sides was getting smaller. It would be so disappointing to see a result where they got absolutely hammered again. It would be like, this side deserves better than that. They need to put out better results than that. That's the reality of it. It'll be good to see an Anzac Day game, though. Finally. How long have we been talking about that?
Years. It's such a no-brainer, and I love the concept. I want it to be a thing where you get the Wallabies and All Blacks joining the course as well, which would be awesome. But this is a great first start, and it's like, it's 2026. Why is it taking this long? Guys, what are we doing?
True. Why? I mean, I think it'll be a good time. I mean, it's cool to see there's a little bit more hype, off the back of that. Like, so I really hope they kind of the Wallaroos leave everything out of on the park, because it's their last, international game until. Post Super Rugby Women's. There's a little bit more build around that. Only today, the Brumbies announced they're signing Avania Wong, who's really, really cool. There's going to be a bunch of those Sevens players involved in Super Rugby Women's this year. There's a little bit more hype around the competition. So I'm hoping that they use this time to really, this last weekend, as a chance to really give, really throw everything in the kitchen sink at this Black Fern side, and at least leave the field going, you know what, that was a much better performance, and we're clearly heading in the right direction. I hope. That's what I hope. Should we talk Sevens, Nath? I know it's like the eternal struggle of watching Sevens right now. It's every single time. Every time.
It's so annoying because the Australians feel like they're so much better than everyone else, but that gap to everyone else is what the gap feels like to New Zealand. Six in a row, I think it is. 7 in a row finals where it's been Australia, New Zealand, and Australia have gone down. They're just a step ahead. It's as simple as that right now. They're missing the influence. They're missing the influence of Charlotte Caslick. They're just not being able to find that right moment. George Miller's too good. She's a freakish player. But like, they have great support from the others as well. Like, Kelsey Tannetti's amazing. She's really kind of taken a couple steps forward this year, and she's been the difference. Yeah. I mean, it's not all over yet. 2 legs to go in Bordeaux and Valladolid. I can't pronounce the name. It's somewhere in Spain. Where
Yeah,
if the Aussies can get one of those, the wonderful finale, it sets up a winner takes all. Definitely not out of the question yet because it is just fine moments. You know, it was within a one-score game when that ball was kicked off and knocked on by the Kiwis, but 2 or 3 seconds earlier, the whistle had the full-time siren had gone. So, hey, if that comes 5 seconds earlier, you get a chance to attack. Maybe you can win the game, or at least send the game into extra time. But again, it's just very one-sided rivalry at the moment.
it's really frustrating. Like it's yeah, I'm just so frustrated. I'm just so frustrated by the whole situation. It's just I was really hoping to see, you know, a side produce a bit, to see like them finals for some reason. Finals in the last few years in sevens has really kind of thrown everything on its head. I mean, Argentina have finished top of the ladder of the regular season the last 2 years, but then finals comes around and then suddenly, France shows up and South Africa shows up and surprises them all, and it's just even Australia and France surprising New Zealand in 23, 24. It's just God. I was really hoping expecting to see another surprise result. I mean, we did get a few surprise results on the weekend. I would like to just in my shout out segment that we've been doing, like basically shouting out all the sevens two sides who cleaned up in in the first round of competition. I mean, like Uruguay, Kenya, like finishing higher than Great Britain and potentially in line to kick Great Britain out of the competition. With promotion and relegation now in play, it was really cool to see them do well. And yeah, just
Germany,
like
Germany beat Great Britain.
Germany. Oh, I loved watching that. That was so good. That game of the weekend. Is that too much of a stretch? I
Maybe
don't
yes,
know.
I think so.
Yeah,
There was so
yeah,
much. There was so much quality on this week.
yeah. It
So
was
many good
great. It
finishes around
was
the park.
Yeah. I mean, it was frustrating to see the men come in Australian men's come in sixth, but when Fiji had a shocker. I mean, it was just amazing to see Argentina suddenly rediscover that form that made them so good, the last couple of years. And then Spain, who are just such a surprise package, as well, just continue to, in key moments stand up and deliver great results. Actually, while we're talking shout outs in Hong Kong, shout out First Nations Pacifica for
Yes,
taking the
yeah.
plate. They're back and they got their first wins and they looked fire, absolutely fire. So yes,
I
more of them playing.
really enjoyed the fact that they were back. That like I don't know who was commentary. It seemed like lovely people, but you had no idea what you were talking about. Like they're going into this. They were going into this basically being like, "Oh, we don't know a bit about this. This side's probably gonna gas out. They look too small, blah blah blah." And they were just pumping these teams. You did, all you need to do was do a little bit of research and we figured out there was 4 Aussie Sevens guys in that team, plus a bunch of other contracted Brumbies, like academy dudes. Like Chase Oates was the main playmaker. He was great.
Jared McLeod.
Jared McLeod, who got red carded in the first game. Like I think
Yeah, I know, fuck.
that's what killed him in the end. Is like Jared got red carded. That Ethan McFarland who got called into the like Aussie Seven side because Jaden Blake tweaked his quad and was out. So they were down so many players. But like, yeah, bit of research, bit of kind of understanding that, oh, wait, this team's actually really good. Like this team, oh, we don't know about the connection. Half these guys train with each other. It was a mix of an Australia A and a First Nations team. Like, bit of respect.
Oh,
But
it's
hey,
such a good concept.
great concept. And this is a great way just to not only keep it alive, but keep those, like use First Nations Pacifica as the brand for the pathways coming through. It kind of just allows people like a Gage Phillips to get more experience on a World Series, so he is ready to step up when asked to kind of go. And not even just kind of exposure thing. It just sort of allows you to ID a bit more talent and get a bit more, cast your web and your net a little bit further out and just see what's there. I was speaking to Matt Sonder, who's the First Nations manager at Rugby Australia, and he was really like he was like it's become such a such a groundswell of pathways talent that's now coming through, wanting to play for some version of First Nation Pacifica should it return in 10 to 12 years time, and keeping that legacy going. What I'd like to see, and how's this for a pitch, is we have so many pre-World Cup games that go on in these countries. How about you bring First Nation Pacifica back and play a team?
Yes, like they should actually be. Yes,
like you know, all those super guys just sitting around doing nothing. You throw them into First Nation Pacifica. Not only does it kind of bring the format back, it allows you to essentially build a bit more of a festival around the World Cup in that build up, and also it probably gives Australia and New Zealand like 25 more guys that are a bit more match fit should they need to be called upon.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I feel like it's something which you might not be sure, like in New Zealand or an Ireland or something like that. Well, I mean, it can't be Ireland because they're playing Australia, but if they played I don't know, if they played Wales, if they played in Italy, if they played somebody with a half decent kind of name to it, they played Japan. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, you could turn it into such a cool tour concept thing as well. I mean, I know that the Australia A program is continuing on it as well as been doing annual games, but getting some way to get these guys involved and getting more annual fixtures out of them, it's killer. This concept's killer. I love it, and and also shout out how good the strip looked. It was a good strip.
That's great.
It was
lovely. You have so much to work with. That's part of the culture, isn't it? You just so many different designs, so many different colors, where you can just allow you to kind of show that culture and show that what it means to play for your country. Oh, play for your country, play for your mob, play for your culture, really.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So we'll finish off with talking Super Round. It's obviously Super Round. It will kick off in One New Zealand Stadium, first time, brand new Mint Stadium in Christchurch. Mr. Nathan Williamson will be flying over there on Thursday. You lucky bastard! I believe Finn Morton's already over there. I believe a certain Lockie Gray from Scrumbags is going over there. So basically, all of you are going over there, and I'm here. So
yes,
very, very jealous. But fixtures this weekend, kicking it off: Crusaders against the Waratahs on Friday night, followed by Canes on Friday night rather as the sole clash. Hurricanes versus Brumbies kicking us off on Saturday with Blues Reds to follow. That's a banger day.
Beautiful
talk about
day.
Great rivalries, and also the fact that they've been building up some really good Anzac Day clashes with those two teams. The last couple of years has been fantastic. And then finishing off on the Sunday with Highlanders and Moana Pacifica, and then the Chiefs and the Drua. So a bit more of a Pacifica feel to that last day. All right, Nath, should we do some sneaky tips and predictions? How do we think that this weekend is going to go?
Oh, good question. What is talking right now? What is guiding vehicle is my head or my heart when I'm picking this Waratahs game? I think the Crusaders will get the win. I think the Brumbies go down to the Hurricanes. I think the Reds beat the Blues. I quite like the Red side. I think they're not have Carter Gordon, but Harry McLaughlin-Phillips has been good, and I think they match up pretty well with the Blues. And then the Highlanders Chiefs just dominate Sunday. That's a rapid prediction for me.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be. I'm a little more. Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think if there's any game that, I reckon that the closest sides that will upset the Kiwis is Tars beating the Crusaders, because I think if they show up and the Tars, get that edge over the Crusaders. I mean, when was the last time the Tars actually won in Christchurch? Have they ever won in Christchurch? They would have. They've
won once. They've won once. I couldn't tell it to my head. I think the record is 14 out of 15 the Crusaders have won, something like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but beat a lot of teams with the same record. As I quickly try and waste time. I bring the actual stats. 2004. And by the way, if we keep doing shout-outs, shout out the Opta Match Packs. They're free on the Super Rugby website. If you want any stat in the world, just around how these teams match up and who's top 10 in basically every stat. Dude, they're free. They're like 3 clicks away. Use them. They're great.
They
They
are
also
so
have
good.
they have post-match stats as well. Pretty frequently added to the website when a game finishes.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
pretty
know what.
fast.
Like when we're in a sort of a situation where everyone complains that we don't have enough stats around this sort of stuff. They're so accessible and they're so deep. Why do people not use them?
You're such a. I love that it's such a deep, like, it's like a hard on for stats. That's how it feels
It's
right now.
really
But the
not.
stats are good.
Just you.
Yeah.
They're there. People bitch and moan too much without actually looking at this shit and being like, oh wait, I can actually find out how many carries somebody had, how many tackles, how many turnovers did they have, when this all happened. Like, guys, you can find this really easy.
I still use your account. I'm pretty sure. So
I'm not even talking about my account. My account's better because like it's the actual. It's got no, because it's an actual Opta login, so I can watch past replays and do that sort of stuff. That's how I do my Aussie abroad segments. But I'm talking about stuff that's free to use for people. Use it.
Yeah. Amen. We'll include a link in the description to go and check out Opta stats because the stats are actually legitimately pretty fire. And speaking of a final shout out before we bugger off and you go down to have a wonderful time in South Island, shout out Harry Wilson, Sue, Desiree Miller, and Ash Masters for claiming the Rivals trophy. Rugby union, top of the table, knocking aside league, knocking aside AFL. Union top the league. We can officially say that now.
I barely watched it. I was one of those ones I would wait for it to come out on YouTube and just like rewind to when the challenges were happening just to see who won. Harry Wilson, like, God bless. I had a very incorrectly worded TikTok that I will apologize to Harry. I said the wrong things, but like there's so many. But in the sense of like there's so many fans who saw Charlie Callum went, oh, he's got to start over Harry. Who see Rob Valentini, he's got to start over Harry. You watch this series, you understand why everyone loves Harry and why Harry's such a good leader. Like he was talking shit throughout, but he was somebody who was like willing to die if it meant his team got like an extra half second. Like Harry Wilson would have probably like I won't say will because I reckon he did. I think spoiler this was recorded after the spring tour. He was in surgery shortly afterwards. I reckon there's a non-0% chance he injured himself further going on this show with his knee just so he could get Union the win and get those bragging rights for the code.
I was going to say, like, this is... Yeah, he had like a whole stat that the whole thing, like where his knee was so bad that he still was like, in spite of the situation of coming up against some big names in league and AFL, was like, yeah, I'll have a crack even though my knee's freaking injured as all hell, and they still managed to get the dub. So shout out Harry Wilson,
which is awesome. Like he proves he's not too cool. Like everyone else was a bit too cool for school and just kind of fucking around, acting like jocks, and he was just like, I don't care. We're winning this. If I have to drag you guys over the line, I will.
Yeah, what a lad! What all of them killed it. Every single one of them. Sue, Desi Miller, Ash Masters, all killed it. So on you guys and girls, we're super proud of you. Let's call it. That's dropped kickoff for another week. Nathan, when's your flight?
10 o'clock Thursday.
Oh my god, it's so nice.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful. Again, for context, most of the time when me and Nick were flying around for Lions Tour, it was 6 or 7 a.m. So 10 a.m. feels like 2 p.m.
It was earlier than that. The flights were earlier than that. They were like maybe it's because we were getting up at like 4 a.m. to get there.
Yeah, but that was the time of the flight, not when we got up.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Take me back. Pleasure as always, Mr. Williamson. I have a wonderful time in Chicha. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Drop Kickoff. If you haven't heard it already, we actually got a second episode that actually dropped earlier in the week where I chatted with Mr. Anthony Abrams, who, if you don't know, but I'm assuming quite a few of you know, was part of the Wallaby 7 who did was part of the side that boycotted or protested the 1971 Springboks tour to Australia, at the time of apartheid. We were given the chance to do an interview with them, courtesy of the ABC, as part of their series Boycott. So if you want a bit of rugby history and a good deep dive into that, go check it out. It's a good chat. Really enjoyed chatting with him. He's 82 years old and still absolutely killing it as an international lawyer and brilliant rugby brain. I didn't include it in the recording, but gave a massive shout out to Zach Lomax as well. So Tony's on Lomax watch as well. It was a good chat. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll catch you the same time next week.
We've got another week to get back on the horse and take that horse to the water, and you can ask that horse, you can say, hey horsey, do you want to have a drink or do you want to swim? Yeah, and it's up to that horse to then realise what he wants to do in his life. So we're looking forward to, like I say, getting back on that horse.
And are you looking forward to getting back on the horse 6 months since we last saw you?
I don't like horses, I can't ride.
Give myself an uppercut.